just dive into it. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Chilluminati podcast, episode 30, I think. This is the 30th episode.
Happy anniversary, Mathis.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Happy 30th anniversary.
Speaking of 30, if you're a Chilluminati fan, and let's say you're on the East Coast,
And
like
you're 30.
clear off your schedule around October 30th and make plans to be in and around Boston. That's all I'm going to say. We can't say anything else yet.
Cannot say anything else. I wasn't even sure if you were going to say that.
But just, clear your schedule.
A fortune teller told you.
Mm-hmm.
Get your.
I told her I didn't believe it. I thought that anyone could have that be said to them and it be true. And she's like, but I also know that you killed that person 30 years ago and took their personality.
FBI agent cosplay ready. You know?
Buy your Chilluminati merch right now.
How great would it be to go do this mysterious event that may or may not happen, and everybody there is dressed like X-Files.
That would be dope. Men in Black, X-Files.
Or Ghostbuster.
And then they take us to jail.
And by jail, I mean their basement.
And by their basement, I mean the basement of Area 51.
Where all the aliens are?
And by Area 51, I mean a Motel 6.
When's the date of the Area 51 raid again?
9/20.
9/20. All right.
Do meth every
5
day.
blaze it.
Do math. Do
9/20,
math every day.
5 blaze it.
That took me a hot minute to sink in. It's like, do math every day. What does he mean? I don't understand.
Do meth, baby.
In the interest of shilling.
Don't do meth. Don't do meth.
Don't. The Chilluminati does not endorse doing
Don't
meth.
let that be the 1 second of the podcast that you show to your grandmother.
I love this podcast. You go in like a week later, grandma's just all methed out, running around, cleaning the house.
You know that meth
You
is
think
what
that's
took
what's going to happen if
Grandpa
Grandma
away.
gets on meth?
What
You
would
think
happen if a grandma...
The worst case scenario is Grandma's going to be like, I cleaned your apartment, dear.
Worst case scenario is Grandma fucking dies from meth. What are you talking about?
No, worst case scenario is Grandma lives, has a wild grandma orgy, and with your
Are you
friends,
telling me?
and then you and your grandma have to know it happened.
How about
That's
this?
way worse.
Worst case scenario, Grandma peels off her face. She's the Mothman. Welcome back to the Chilluminati podcast, where we are talking about the Mothman.
I don't think that's the worst
That's
case
a good.
scenario.
It's a segue.
Yeah, that's not the worst.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. You may actually think that we are going into Mothman Part 3, and you wouldn't be entirely incorrect. But
What?
I'd say
We're going
this
into
is-
part 4.
what we're actually doing is an episode on something tangentially related to the Mothman, which is a character by the name of Indrid Cold, otherwise known as the Smiling Man or the Grinning Man. Have either of you heard of Indrid Cold?
I have.
No.
I have. And
Okay.
and here's
Yeah,
the
this
thing
is kind of a deep. This is kind of like a deep cut in
This
terms
is
of
like
weird
this is
knowledge.
like part of the this is part of your like this is like the Arcade Fire in like first year of college of like becoming a conspiracy theorist is
Right.
learning about Indrid Cold.
Yes.
But everybody
it.
online is asking about Indrid Cold in relation to a character from the Adventure Zone podcast. And I just want to point out that that character is named after this character and not the other way around.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing. I had no idea.
I don't know the context. I don't know anything about it. I know there's a character in the Adventure Zone called Indrid Cold, from what I hear. And just to clear up any confusion, that character is based on, or at least named after, this character.
Okay, that's interesting. Neat. So, other than that, do you know anything about Indrid Cold, Alex?
I know he's like got that kind of like weird Men in Black vibe where he's like
Yes.
he has like he looks like he needs like to be moist all the time or else he will dry out kind of vibes.
Yeah.
And he has weird lips and he talks weird
Yes,
and
and he
there's a lot of
talks
recordings
weird.
of him. Yeah.
There's a bunch of run-ins with him and all kinds of stuff. So, well, you
He
may
was
have
on
thought...
he was like he got interviewed, right? There's like audio of him, right?
No, there's an interview with the man that talked to him.
Oh, that's right.
That's what the interview was. I read that transcript. It was
Ain't it just
a
always
ride.
the way? Yeah.
a ride. Also, good to point out that for this particular subject is like Alex said, it's kind of like your first step into deeper conspiracy theory stuff. So there's not a huge amount of sources out there. The main source that we'll be using is excerpts and discussion from a book that was done when they interviewed the guy who supposedly was in contact with Indrid Cold for over a certain period of time, called Visitors from Lanulos. Let me say that again. Visitors from Lanulos.
How does that title strike you, Jesse?
I don't know. So I don't know anything about Indrid Cold. Indrid Cold. I don't know anything about this person. I don't know anything about it. So I don't know what Visitors from Lanulos, but it sounds like a dime store novel title.
Kind of
fair.
Yeah.
Fair. The cover even looks like a dime store novel. It didn't actually go into major production until years after it was already written. There was only 6 copies of it in existence. And somebody had to get the rights to it and then get one of the copies from like a national library and then publish it from that. So even after he did the interview, there's only like 6 books made of it. It was a weird novel.
So Indrid Cold is kind of like the RV man of the 60s. Like he's like a weird pre-YouTube viral sensation.
What?
Yeah, kind of.
Like how do you
I don't know what that means. I don't know what this means.
How do you go broad from 6 copies in 1965? Do you know what I mean? When is the book from?
That is right around the late 60s because the events happened. So 1971. There you go.
That's what I'm saying.
Early 70s.
I feel like Indrid Cold, people have been asking because he's central to this legend if you go one layer deeper, and it's so interesting to me that there were only 6 books.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it is very bizarre. And we'll also learn that the guy who comes forward and talks about Indrid Cold, his life has been ruined. Even his family members, his life, unemployable, bankrupt, completely destroyed his life. People harassing him and all kinds of stuff, and even apparently extends to members of his family. That's something to keep in mind when talking about this as well. The only other book that was written that popularized it a little bit more is actually a book written by the same author who wrote Mothman Prophecies, which is John A. Keel. And in this book, the Grinning Man is a part of a collection of weird cryptids. Basically, the book is about, and it's just an excerpt. And what's real about what he writes and what's not is up in the air because he's known to dramatize things. So it's not really a super reliable source when it comes to Indrid Cold. So, well, fortunately, unfortunately for everyone here, we aren't quite done with Mothman tangentially yet. While we speculated what it could be, a cryptid with a family, a spirit, a doomsayer, prophesier, or just straight out made up, what's interesting about Mothman is the time in which he was most present in this area. As you recall, the Mothman sighting started on November 12th, 1966, and went to about December 15th, 1967, being the first sighting being November 12th. But one thing we didn't talk about is that the Mothman phenomena was just a small sliver of what is known as an overarching UFO flap. Do you guys know what that term is, a UFO flap?
Is that when a story breaks and then there's a bunch of aftershocks of the same story?
Yeah, there's basically a UFO flap is a point in time where UFO sightings and encounters were heavily present and then they just die off. And that's where this 1966 to 1967 in this West Virginia area, this was just kind of a part of the UFO flap. One might even argue that the beginning of the flap was technically on October 16th, 1966 in New Jersey on 4th Street, when 2 young boys, Martin Mouse Munov and James Jimmy Yankidis, claimed to have seen
Mathis Martin.
Listen, those are their nicknames, man. This was in the 60s.
Yeah.
Martin Mouse, I imagine he was a small guy. James Jimmy.
Hey, come on, motherfucker.
He turned into Tommy Karate.
Yeah.
It's just Tommy Karate as a child. This is what turned him. His encounter.
Yeah.
And James Jimmy, his nickname is just because his name is James, would be my assumption.
James Jimmy, dude, that's weak.
It is weak.
You don't need to put the James there. We get it.
Yeah, we get it. Just call yourself James or Jimmy. You don't need both. But they were actually out for a walk on 4th Street when they claimed to have seen a strange man. They were walking around as young boys of that era do. I don't know, playing stick. What do you do in the 60s? Play stickball, roll a tire.
You chew on rocks because that's all they had.
Ride bikes.
Play
like,
G.I. Joe with the big G.I. Joes.
Play basketball.
The 60s wasn't like the 1860s.
Throw lawn darts at your friend's heart.
I'm sorry.
Do meth with your grandma.
Grandma out there rolling around a tire just on meth.
Sight cryptids in the street.
Either way, these boys were walking down 4th Street at some point during the evening. And curious, they saw actually a strange figure standing near a fence. Wondering what it was, they got a little closer to see what the figure was, and they saw it was actually a tall, bald man, somewhere over 6 feet tall, wearing a metal green suit, who was staring right at them with a huge grin on his face. And according to Mouse, I quote, "Jimmy nudged me and said, 'Who's that standing behind you?' I looked, and there he was, standing behind that fence, just standing there. He pivoted around and looked right at us. Then he grinned a big old grin."
And then Jimmy said, "Did you know that Jimmy is short for James? Because my actual name is James, but I want people to call me Jimmy." Is that cool?
But that was the first sighting of the of what is going to be known as Indrid Cold.
Read that description of his clothes one more time for me.
Yeah, it was a metallic green, sorry, they didn't say metallic, a metal green suit.
Like,
now I don't know.
Like
my mind
armor?
went metallic green suit. You need power armor?
Are we thinking like power armor?
Do you think it's the color metal green?
Metal green.
Like
yeah, that was what I was thinking. What, like metallic green? Maybe it had like a shine to it.
No, not like a shine. I'm talking
okay.
like gunmetal green.
Yeah, there's like the green that you would paint on an army vehicle. That it could be that it was like that really ugly green color. Maybe, I don't know.
Or are we talking about, like when you wear one of those space blankets? Like, is it
yeah, that's like that was my mind went that way. But yeah, I didn't think
get all
like
sweaty
1960s Iron Man suit.
Yeah,
just like that steamboat looking. Yeah, exactly. Like how do you even move in that thing?
Do you think that they heard the Pink Panther theme like play like when they saw him? Like it was like
yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. That would dissolve any creepiness from him.
Dude, if he's smiling,
completely.
If he's like smiling like that, he's snapping his fingers.
Just to his own beat in his own head.
He can hear it.
But point is, that's where arguably we could say the UFO flap happened. During this time, tons of people came forward saying they were seeing UFOs in the skies, dancing lights moving around, all in different parts of the states. A lot, like, again, our focus is going to be West Virginia again in this particular topic. But this during 1966 to 1967 in this small zone, tons of people saw tons of weird shit. And the boys seeing this figure, by the way, is not just like lore. There's police records. They went to the police after that.
They actually reported this.
Yeah, they went to the cops and reported it. So it wasn't just folklore to make.
That's the thing that makes me think it might be like a metallic looking suit.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
If a dude was just standing there like smiling in a like ugly ass suit that was like dark, sort of pale green, like I don't know that I would be like, I don't know, James. We better. It's Jimmy now. I think we better go to the cops. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I would ever like be like, "There's a man out there." I feel like you would have to look weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. But our main story is going to be on a man by the name of Woodrow. Sorry, I mostly call him Woody. Woodrow Derenberger. He's the one that came into contact with the smiling man or Indrid Cold, and actually had routine conversation with him over the course of days, and even claimed to have been taken to his planet.
So, what? Okay, I was about to ask what does this have to do with Mothman, and now I want to know what the hell. What is this? We have no bookends for this episode. We jumped in to talk about someone named Indrid Cold,
so the connection,
and I don't know who this is.
I
still have no clue. And you're just rattling off things this guy has done. You're like, kids saw him. Who is it? What is this thing? I don't understand.
The reason I bring up the kids is because the kids event happened about 3 weeks before the first Mothman sighting in the same area.
Are you saying this guy's Mothman?
So there are claims that his coat isn't actually a coat, but are actually wings, and that he can fly. And that those are the sightings of either Indrid Cold himself or the same species that Indrid Cold may be that were traveling during this part of the planet at the time.
So the Mothman's name is Indrid Cold?
That's what he called himself.
There are multiple theories as to what Indrid Cold's relationship to the character known as the Mothman is.
Correct.
Which are?
Some are that he is the Mothman. Some are that he is like the herald of the Mothman. Some are that he is like related to the Mothman. That he's like, you know, like the Mothman's like a fugitive and he's trying to chase him. Or there's a lot of different things that.
So he's a man in black, is what you're saying?
There's a theory that he's a man in black, actually, and man in black are a totally different thing.
Yeah, he could be like a man in black for us. He could be a man in black like
for another species,
like Dog the Bounty Hunter type vibes. And I've heard all kinds of shit. He's like
Wait a minute. So this
his
is
legend has grown beyond just this. He's like
it's like a Lilo and Stitch scenario where the Mothman came down and was like, oh, and everyone was like, "Watch out, Mothman! We'll save you." And this guy's like, "I've got to get Mothman."
It's
right.
Like that's one of the things that I've heard. I swear to God,
Stitch.
that's one of the things I've heard, honestly. But I think like. I don't know. I think he's like part of the he's like Paul Bunyan or something where he like or Johnny Appleseed where he just like he's in the mix now.
But I've heard of those two and I've never heard of this guy.
That's because you don't want to open your mind to the truth, Jesse. You don't want to see the evidence that's all around you.
What do you mean?
Indrid Cold lives. No, I don't know. I want to like see how you're gonna tell the story because the stuff that I have is like piecemeal from like terrible forums and websites.
Well, that's the thing, and that's why I pointed out in the beginning of the episode. You have to understand, like, there's not much on him. There's very little written about him that comes from that time period that is even, you know, questionable whether it's reliable. One of the authors, the Keel one, the one that also wrote Mothman Prophecies. The problem with his is he says he goes and interviews all these people, but then he never provides sources or way he contacted them. Like, he makes a bunch of claims, but never backs them up. And it really puts a lot of his accounts into question, which is part of the Indrid Cold thing. Like, he was here for this very small sliver of time. Handful of people said they ran into him or people like him, and then it stopped. And then that was the end of it. So, what we'll talk about specifically, though, is we're going to basically just talk about the Woodrow Derenberger scenario, because it's kind of the only scenario that we can kind of tie and have some actual conversation about. He was actually just a lovely old sewing machine salesman for a sewing machine company out in West Virginia. On November 2nd, 1966, he was returning from Marietta, Ohio to his home, and he had a very strange experience. He was driving in his red paneled truck on Route 77 in Parksburg, West Virginia. He claimed that he saw a flying metallic cigar-shaped craft. The ship traveled right by his truck and blocked the roadway ahead and gradually made him slow down to a stop onto the side of the road. Woodrow also described the vehicle as resembling a, quote, kerosene lamp chimney, quote. Have you seen what those are?
Yeah, the little
lamps that kind of go, like, cue out to a bubble and then narrow out again.
Yeah.
But it had, like, the top, is what you're saying? It had
kinda,
a little...
It kind of looks like
yeah,
a top
I guess,
bit.
I mean, that's how he describes it, so you kind of think of it kind of goes up into, like, a bubble and
it's
then
kind of like
again.
a bong-looking thing, if you know what
Yeah,
I'm talking about.
if you know, yeah.
I mean, if my name was Indrid Cold, I'd travel around in a space bong, so yeah, sure.
Oh, I can actually see that. It actually fits his name incredibly
and isn't that kind of consistent with one of the other spacecraft descriptions that we got? Wasn't there a sighting early in for West Virginia stuff that we were talking about earlier where there was like a cylinder?
Yeah, cylinder shaped. Yep, exactly. Yeah. Indrid Cold. I like to imagine he's stoned and he's like, my name's Indrid Cold, but I prefer Indrid Chill.
Yeah. Dude, my parents call me Indrid Cold, but I call myself like Homestar Stoner.
The Homestar Stoner.
Oh, geez, Homestar.
So anyway, he claims, or Derenberger continues to claim, that the aircraft itself was hovering about a foot off the ground. A door opened on the craft, and a being exited the ship, and the doors shut with a loud thunk behind him.
We got Star Wars doors.
Yeah, well, I guess I was thinking Star Trek.
Yeah.
Shunk.
No, Star Trek is like
That's
The doors in Star
That's
Wars
fair.
look like they're gonna fucking kill you. Like like you walk past them and they're like, boom, it's closed. There was never a door here.
Later, the vehicle climbed to about 50 feet into the air above the highway. The being walked right up to Derenberger's truck window. That would horrify me. Something just like steps out of the ship and just walks up to my window.
Was it a man named Indrid Cold?
Well, Woodrow described
Would you
the
believe?
being as looking like any ordinary... Oop, I think I just got bit by a mosquito on my head as I am recording this podcast.
Mothman!
That's I saw... I freaking got it.
Oh my god,
he
he
did.
really did.
Wow.
Oh, you
Wow.
asshole.
Now you're allowed to train with Mr. Miyagi.
God. That's gonna itch real bad. I'm sorry, Mothman, but I have to expose your secrets now. Is there another one in
Oh, boy.
You'll be okay.
Well,
Don't worry. They're just
you're
trying to
dead.
stop you
There.
from
You're
telling the
dead now.
truth.
here? Yeah. All right. Anyway, so he walked the craft, 50 feet it goes up 50 feet into the air. Figure walks up to Derenberger's window. He described the being as looking like any ordinary man off the street. 6 feet tall, about 35 years of age, olive complexion, dark brown hair, and wearing a glossy, metallic, dark blue coat. The man spoke to Woodrow telepathically.
Of course he did.
His mouth did not move. Instead, he had a fixed smile on his face. The man looked in through the truck windows and said without saying something along the lines of, "Roll down your window, I want to talk to you." While they communicated, the man called himself Indrid Cold. He told Woodrow that he meant him no harm.
So this guy also reported like a shiny metal.
Yep, metallic blue suit.
Huh. How about that?
A little connection. Let's continue. Continuing, he said, "I was very frightened, and as far as I can understand, this was all mental. There were not words spoken from him. I knew what he was asking me, but yet he stood there, and his mouth did not move. He had a smile on his face. He appeared very courteous and friendly." Indrid Cold and Mr. Derenberger's conversation was about 10 minutes long. He told him, and Cold telepathically told him, "We eat, we breathe, we sleep, we bleed, even as you do," before returning to the flying craft and said, "We will see you again." He later reported this event to the police.
Now, is this the guy who went on TV?
This is the guy who had the interview.
Yeah,
The 30-minute
okay.
interview. Yep. Same guy.
I've watched this interview before, back in the day.
I read the transcript for it. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's very strange. So he went to the police with this. This is not anything that again, some
There's
weird
official
hidden
record
thing.
of
There's
it,
official records of this. Exactly. But then the media caught wind of it. And with the media and anything kind of strange, especially at this time, they went wild. Woodrow's story gained traction in the media, gaining news coverage and attention after the Parkersburg police were convinced of his story. An Air Force representative even contacted him soon after his accounts were documented. On November 3rd, 1966, during this media storm, he went on live TV in Parkersburg, West Virginia, where he was then interviewed by the state police, the Wood County Airport, the city police, and representatives from the Dayton, Ohio Air Force Base.
Was it interviewed by like airport?
That's right, Pat. Right, Pat Air Force Base is known among cryptid circles to be where they keep the aliens.
Well then.
It's not Area 51. It's actually Right Pat. Whatever.
The Dayton one?
Whatever. Yeah, Right Pat Air Force Base is in Dayton, Ohio. I grew up there. I spent the first 18 years of my life there.
You're like, all this stuff, I don't believe. One thing, though, they keep the aliens in Dayton.
No, I don't believe that, but that's what the rumor is. Yeah.
All right, so maybe...
How strange, then, that they're the ones,
That's
sending
where,
representatives
the
to ask
Roswell,
questions.
New Mexico plane. The Roswell, New Mexico air dirigible was taken to.
Did I ever tell you about the time my dad was chastising Luke Skywalker's behavior because he said that Han had every right to be mad at him because he was a guest on the plane?
What? What?
He was like, you see, Luke was a guest on the plane, so Han had every right to be mad at him for being annoying.
Your dad and I think, see the exact same thing
Yeah.
the same way.
I guess I was just
That's
lost
when
in
they
the
took the
moment.
space plane with the aliens. Took them over that area.
Dark
52.
Vader.
God. Well, back to the interview. When the interview aired, an older man claimed that he too saw a figure matching the same description as Indrid Cold, also on Route 77, who was trying to flag him down. But the man was too afraid, and so he drove right past as he continued to wave. Derenberger's conversation with Cold could be corroborated, but other people claim to see lights and fluttering vehicles at the same instant on the road.
So people were calling in and being like, I saw
Correct.
this.
This is, like I said, during that UFO flap, people are seeing lots of things. There's even there's even claims that there were people who claimed to have saw landing crafts on Route 77.
All that same night.
No, all over the course of days.
I
Not
thought
all on the
there was
same
a
night.
bunch of. I thought there was a bunch on the same day. No.
There was multiple sightings on the same day, but there was also like I'm saying, there's also continued sightings all on Route 77 throughout days and weeks.
Right,
as
but
well.
what I mean is the thing that's interesting about Derenberger.
That's how I say it, Derenberger.
The thing that's interesting about his story, as I remember it, is that he's the one where it's like same night, same event. It's not even like, oh, there was like an alien this day, and then 2 weeks later another alien. This was like he saw this thing, and then a bunch of other people saw the exact same thing.
Yep, that is exactly also what happened. Yep, a bunch of people, like when he came forward, people were like, we all saw these weird fluttering, like moving, dashing lights in the sky all in the same night.
Pretty wild.
It's crazy. There were also other witnesses that reported seeing Derenberger stopped on the highway talking to this man. So people say they drove by and saw the truck because remember, he pulled over. So he saw this man talking to this dude on the highway, and some even saw. What's interesting about this is some even said they saw the craft, but not all of them who reported seeing the man with Derenberger reported seeing the craft. Only some saw the craft.
So some people said they saw Derenberger talking to no one.
No, they saw him talking to a man, but didn't report the craft there. Other people also saw him talking to the man, but also saw his spacecraft.
Interesting.
Which, if you're like deep, if you're like 3 courses deep into like, conspiracy theory, that plays into the idea that aliens, if this is true, are a mix of physical and psychic phenomena. That they're multidimensional beings.
Which is a
cetera, et cetera.
surprisingly popular theory.
It is a super popular theory. I kind of like it.
From the outsider perspective, it doesn't seem like that's the theory everybody has. But inside the UFO circles, everybody's like, oh yeah, no, aliens are psychic and the craft are like meant, like it's like Green Lantern shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How are you holding on over there, Jesse? I just see you leaning further and further back.
Well, I don't know. Look, every time we have to explain something weird with another weird thing, in order to make it make sense, I'm always immediately like, okay. So the reason why X is because this other thing you didn't think of.
Here's the
And
thing,
the reason for that is another thing. Like the reason why you can't detect the aliens is because they make a force field bubble around the ship. And the reason why they can do that is because they're psychic, which is why they can talk. Like it's always building on something else that takes it to the point where it's so insane that you're just like, sure, okay, anything's possible.
I mean, if you want to just keep walking around in a dream world, Jesse, that's fine with me.
Right. You got to open your mind, man.
Yeah.
Open your mind and
sure.
accept it. But because
My
what
mind's
if
open to the possibilities.
What if it's true?
What if it's not?
So wait, so is this the same guy who then was like, and then he took me back on his spaceship?
Yes.
Really?
We're getting to that. Yes.
Oh my God! Why? I wish it wasn't. I wish it wasn't that guy.
Now, John Keel, the author of the other book that I was saying, is also conducted an interview, but again, he doesn't really do well with citing sources, so I kind of like toss a lot of what he says out the window,
He
unfortunately.
doesn't really do well with citing sources. Is like that should be on the book, like the book quote.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it would continue on. Indrid Cold and Derenberger would have a weird sort of friendship in a strange way. He claimed that he was visited by Indrid Cold many times and that he even took him on a spaceship to his planet. Indrid Cold would also appear at Woodrow's front door. His wife and children even knew that this Indrid Cold was paying him visits, and they even eventually came forward saying they too saw this man and other strange beings.
Maybe he was just like a super convincing Jehovah's Witness.
The best Jehovah's Witness of all time. Is there a Jehovah's Witness believe in like space aliens?
No,
I thought that was Mormons.
They just like travel a lot.
Okay,
like, they like come to your door and like talk to you about the good word.
You might be wondering, what were these aliens like when he went to their planet? Which, by the way, of course, is named Lanulos.
Ah, there it is. Lanulos.
Jesse's just shaking his head, so I guess...
I have nothing to say. Continue, please. I don't know what to say about this so far.
Yep.
Well, Woodrow's wife specifically said that the beings who visited them terrified her. Because remember, they claimed to see other beings. But that these beings were still very much like humanity or humankind, at least physically. They apparently traveled in normal cars, dressed in normal clothes, but just weren't necessarily human. There was even one time where Derenberger disappeared for 6 months and said he was with Indrid Cold.
What? Wait, where did he... What? He wasn't at home?
No, he literally disappeared for 6 months and said that he was with Indrid Cold the whole time.
Whoa.
Wait, what?
Is that just sinking in?
Is there any record of that? Is that like real?
Yeah, what?
So, that is apparently the what he told his family.
And they were like, cool, Pops.
And they apparently believed him.
What? Okay. This is Earthbound at this point.
And then he also claimed that he received mental messages from from Indrid Cold, and they would come suddenly and leave with massive migraines.
Literally, this is the game Earthbound. This guy Derenberger is Ness, and this is what the game is. That's what's happening here.
His family also says that they would receive constant, strange, unknown phone calls. Sometimes they were people threatening to stop speaking about his experience. Sometimes they were odd beeps and electric hums. Sometimes it was just dead silence on the other end. The family even went as far as to change their number to an unlisted one, but the calls continued.
So are we supposed to assume that they're talking about, like, it's the government who...
I imagine it's a mix. Like, there's... my guess would be people that just are gonna just want to, like, torture. Like, the family assholes who are playing pranks, maybe, or something along those lines.
Oh, I guess that's true. But, I mean,
that would be
in their mind, are they saying, like, people are harassing us about this, or are they saying...
No, they would say, like, no, it was threats. They said threats.
They don't think it's real people involved in the situation trying to silence them. They think it's, like, trolls.
No, they think it's real people in the situation trying to silence them.
I see.
Stop them from talking completely. It got so bad that even locals would know where his house was, and they would be there all hours of the day and night and wait in crowds in his driveway just to see if they could see Indrid Cold coming by.
I would love to see how long people hold on to this, like, today. I wonder if you could find people who will just say, like, yep, my dad saw Indrid Cold.
Like, well, they wanted to see Indrid Cold show up.
That's what I'm saying. They're just there, like, trying to be like, oh, well, I want like that town, because I'm sure people are like, yeah, I saw this dude on the road. I saw him at this house. I mean, people said they saw him, right?
Yeah, well, the other people said they saw him on the road and all that other stuff. Yeah, but this is the only one that they seem to, like, put any stock into is the Derenberger one. So it's just crazy that people would even bother to camp outside his house. Derenberger would also then go on to say that he met Indrid Cold in another place as well, other than Route 77 in his house, a place called Bogle Ridge.
Oh,
Bogle Ridge.
It really was a ridge?
Surprisingly close. That was scary.
I thought it was like Promontory Point or whatever.
This is where he said he would go and meet Indrid Cold to go into his spaceship and go in rides in outer space.
And when they got out of the spaceship and looked, there was a hook on the roof of the spaceship.
Some people actually say they also saw Indrid Cold and other spaceships land in that same area.
Bogle
Ridge.
Oh, Bogle Ridge.
Bogle Ridge.
I was saying Makeout Ridge the exact same time that you were saying Bogle Ridge, so I didn't hear it.
Same thing at this point. Because there's a weird part of me that says that's what he was doing.
Like he was hooking up with some dude?
Yeah, he had an affair. He was having an affair or something, disappearing for 6 months.
I mean,
but at the same time,
Occam's
the town
razor, right?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like how it's so easy to want to lean one way or the other, especially when the whole town is apparently going insane about this. Like,
they're like, I seen it.
Right.
Everybody who's seen the leprechaun say yeah.
No yeah from me. I'm sorry. At one point, 2 armed men with loaded rifles were hiding in the woods by Derenberger's property.
What? Wait, he found them?
They came forward and are telling the story. They observed a black Volkswagen enter his front yard. A peculiar dressed man in an all-black suit with tan skin exited and talked with Woodrow before getting back in the car and leaving. The hunters ended up being disappointed, they said. They waited even longer, wanting to see something truly terrifying, but maybe they already had.
Man, I wanted to shoot an alien.
Because that was a visit, Woodrow claims, from the Men in Black.
No. Okay,
yes.
So everybody's involved.
The actual Men in Black.
Everyone's involved. And the Men in Black in the real lore are like scary, like reptilian.
Scary government agents that may or may not be human.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the accounts of them have to do with them struggling to like seem human.
Yeah, they have
they just ask for dumb stuff.
Red lips and stuff.
Yeah, and they're constantly thirsty. Yeah, it's very similar.
Agger, your skin's hanging off your bones.
But so what he said is that the Men in Black ended up visiting, and during that visit told him to stop talking about his encounters with Indrid Cold, and moreover, stop seeing Indrid Cold, lest his life depend on it.
What?
They threatened his life.
Okay.
Stop talking about it, or something bad is going to happen, which tends to happen with the Men in Black.
But is this the only time in all of these stories of Indrid Cold that the Men in Black have shown up?
This is the only noted part where the Men in Black show up.
Okay. All right. I'm trying to piece stuff together. Please continue.
Now you might be saying, Derenberger, you need to see a doctor.
Yeah.
Derenberger, you need to see a doctor.
Well, he did. He sought medical attention and the opinion of a Parksburg psychiatrist at the time. He not only leaves with a clean bill of health, and absolutely...
But those Parksburg psychiatrists are no. That's all BS. They're quacks.
Clean bill of health, no drugs found in his system whatsoever, or disruption to his he's healthy completely.
Do we have this? Do we have this too? Do we have like this record?
These are all records you can go look up. Yes.
Okay.
I love that you're taking notes.
I'm just interested. I just.
It's wild. It's a wild story. It's insane. It's crazy to me. But the psychiatrist also said that he was clean, like he wasn't crazy. So whether that means that Indrid Cold was an alien is up in the air. Whether Derenberger believes that he was an alien, could be a whole nother story, but he believes that he's doing okay, he's having these experiences, that, or he may or may not be cheating.
If we just had one real verifiable alien experience, we could just judge everybody else who's faking it real quick.
Here's the problem with all this. As a man, gentlemen, as a man.
Okay.
Think really hard for me on this. If you spent 6 months off cheating with someone and it ended and you had to come home because you're like, oh, no. Would you, A, admit it, or B, create the most illogical story to get out of it and then keep it going for years to the point where you're like, and then the Men in Black showed up. Would you do whatever it took to make sure that your significant other didn't know?
I don't think that this would be the story that I chose if I was going to do that.
Yeah, but this guy sounds like an idiot. So just imagine you're stupid and this is what you came up with. rather than be like, well, I wanted to bang other people, you were like, aliens took me. But
I
his
just
name
don't know
was
why he
Indrid
would go
Cold.
so extreme.
Yeah, it's very extreme. And the town.
You know
the other
why?
thing is, like, the
you know why you go extreme? Because just like people who are like, well, the aliens, you see, the reason why you couldn't hear them, the reason why I don't know how they sounded is because they could talk to my head. And the reason why you can't see their ships is because they're cloaked. And the reason why they don't make any noise is because it's a power thing that you've never thought of before. And they're from a planet that we can't contact. Like, the same thing.
So
it's the same thing because you're like, it's so fake. One pull of the thread, it all comes apart. So they have to keep layering on. And it's the same thing here. This guy was like, and then Men in Black showed up.
So this is
And so I'm
basically
not
just a
talking about it
fucked up
anymore.
version of Fargo is what you're saying.
Yes.
Well, to add a little bit more to that, one of the reasons we know he went to the doctor as well is because after the doctor visit, the doctor himself gets a weird experience. He is contacted in December by Indrid Cold.
What?
He doesn't reach out by phone, but telepathically. What that conversation was, we do not know. Only that
Why
he
don't we
claims
know
to
that?
have.
Why don't we know that?
Because he only claims that to have had the experience. Because
No,
if you
Doctor,
try to dig,
you can't say you've been contacted and not say what it was about.
because you can't go any deeper than that. There's
Maybe
no
it's
more after
private.
that.
Maybe they talked about their issues. Maybe they worked
But
some
here's
shit
the
out.
thing. Here's the thing. Here's why I think this
he's
leads
a doctor.
credence.
There's confidentiality there.
But you got to keep in mind, and this is my if I was to go on the Jesse side of things here, of course the doctor would say something after. The whole town has been getting weird bouts of fame off of Derenberger's weird claims. Why wouldn't he too also do that? But, you like you said, Occam's razor, it's so easy to see both sides.
Yeah. It's I want to believe. I'll say that.
But I'm not sure what we're believing in.
I just want to know.
I still don't know exactly what we're believing.
Maybe there's nothing to believe. This is just something that happened.
Yeah.
To a degree.
There's more than the usual amount of corroboration for this story, and I'd like to believe that at least everybody here is telling the truth about what they believe happened.
There's more than the usual amount of cooperation.
Like there's
for me.
There's multiple sightings of the same thing on the same night. There's other sightings of the same thing at other times, and there's verified, witnesses and stuff here. So that's the thing that's interesting to me. I don't know that it's necessarily any one thing. If it's an alien or whatever it is, could be mass hysteria. I don't know, but I just feel like for them all to have their stories straight together, it's probably something they're all responding to, right?
Yeah. I'm with you on that.
Whatever it may be, whatever it may actually be.
Whether he went to Lanulos after all the rash
I can't
encounters
comment
or
on.
not.
I can't comment on Lanulos.
We can't.
I cannot
exactly.
comment on Lanulos at this time. But I just think that it's at least worth paying attention to because I think it's something interesting. Yeah,
I agree. I'm with you. It's super interesting to me, which is why I wanted to talk about it. It's really, really kind of just a cool thing. So after that's kind of the extent of the experiences thereafter. The Men in Black is kind of like the bookend to everything there. He doesn't claim to have any contact with Indrid after that or go off with him anymore. Just kind of an end point. And it's after that the books started happening. Visitors from Lanulos is from 71. In the Mothman Prophecies, he's actually mentioned as well. He's actually in the Mothman Prophecies book. He talks about the Grinning Man and Indrid Cold and all that other nonsense. And like most, his life thereafter was kind of unfortunately miserable. He negatively affected him, his family, his friends, years of harassing phone calls, losing jobs, losing friends, people trespassing on his property, ridicule, embarrassment, etc., etc., etc. He eventually had a nasty divorce from his wife, and he ended up dying in 1990 at the age of 74. So it's kind of a bummer, that his life was just destroyed by this event in the end and didn't really do anything good for him.
It's wild. It's wild. Why if it was fake, why would you stick to it for so long?
Yeah, why would you do books years after
It's
you're being
such a
already kind of like
stupid- it's
haunted
like
by
Because
it?
once you're in, how do you get out? How do you leave? How do you get out of the moment?
Just be like, I was being a fucking liar. I'm sorry. It's all fake. The people do that all the time.
It's hard to do. It's hard to do. And the people who do it on their deathbed.
I wish you woulda.
That's true, actually. A lot of people
It's hard.
don't just bite
Once
on
you-
things.
Yeah, once you get caught up in something, especially big lies, like lies on top of lies on top of lies, it's so hard to just admit it. Because if you do, the amount of damage you'll cause is even worse. And then you have even less than you had before. So sometimes the lie is all you have anymore. And so I can see how if you wrote books and your entire reputation's built on this thing, and even without your wife, and even if your personal life sucks, you have the respect of some people at least. And if you said you lied, you have no one's respect now. And that's, I think, to a lot of people, way worse.
It's wild.
It's very wild.
I can't imagine doing it. I can't imagine being like
that deep.
and then
And then the longest game of improv.
Close. Yeah.
Just never ending. But it's an interesting story just because of the corroboration. It happening during that UFO like year, that flap of a year, where sightings were everywhere, and real or not, something happened. Whether it's the greatest lie in history, or it's just a dude who went kind of a little insane, affair, aliens, Mothman. That's where we're going to end our journey across Mothman time space.
Indrid Cold.
But then,
Because there's no
so
answers,
what's the
Jesse.
implication?
It's not a written story.
That he appeared, but like the implication here
Well,
from Mothman.
there were other, so there were claims of other people that wore similar clothes to him happening across like this part of West Virginia and stuff, and people are saying that he might have been Mothman, like this species of alien is Mothman, and they were visiting people and stuff, and it was just crazy.
I think I like the story better if it's like he was. Wouldn't it be more fun, guys? Wouldn't it be more fun? Can't we all agree on this?
Can we write a script?
That
Are we writing a script?
Indrid Cold, whatever his name is the guy who caused the bridge collapse, and the Mothman was the one trying to stop him.
Like Magneto and Professor X.
Yeah, but because the Mothman's so hideous to the human eye, we thought he was the villain, when really it was this guy who's like, I'm the smiling man. And he like, oh, isn't that a better story? If we're going to make shit up, is that a better story? And the Mothman's the good guy, and the Mothman was trying to warn everyone. They're like, there's a dude like you trying to destroy a bridge. But except all we heard was, and that's it. And then this
He's
guy
trying to talk to us in his native tongue.
Yes. And this dude was in the background like,
Sith
"Wanna
Lord.
spend 6 months on my planet with me?" And then he like learned everything there was to learn about humans, and he infiltrated it and took down a bridge. And he's like, ah, ha, ha. And the Mothman's like, no. Better story.
It is a
You're
better
welcome.
story. But sometimes real life, you know, like when you go to the zoo and you want to see the tiger and there's no tiger really, and you're like, well, where is he? And like and everybody's like, he's right there, and you just see like some orange bullshit in the middle of some bushes, and you can't really tell it's a tiger. That's real life. That's the real way of getting alien stories that we have.
That's really it. That is exactly every fucking alien encounter that we have.
We can't. If only there was perfect evidence for every one of them. If only
I
somebody
don't see
could
it. Hang
take
on.
one
Let
picture.
me put on my alien sunglass filter.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
I see.
perfect.
Oh my god, dude.
My
I'm
story's
dying.
better.
Indrid Cold gets creepier the more you hear him like quotes of his. Like I heard one where he says he's from somewhere less powerful than the United States.
Oh, really? I didn't see that quote.
And I heard that he like was like, please report me to the authorities and stuff like that.
He was asking a lot of very personal questions as well. Like, where do you live? Who are you? Where am I?
What time is it? What time period? Where am I?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I don't know what it was. I don't know what happened there, but I do believe maybe that something happened there. That's the best I can ever say. And we always come down in this exact way where Mathis is like, this is written. It is real. And I'm like, I don't know if it's all real, but I believe that it's written in response to something. And Jesse's like, why would there be a place called Lanulos? Like, you know.
Well, it is kind of a dumb name.
What? I mean, you know, depends on where you're from, right? If you're from Lanulos,
I guess if you're from Lanulos.
Probably sounds beautiful.
Well, that's it. That's Mothman. That's Indrid Cold. That's Jesse's movie pitch that we should write down. You know, there's just enough truth in that movie pitch to be able to, with the precursor being at the opening, based on a true
What's the
event.
opposite of a prophecy? Like, what's like the true version of a prophecy? The real Mothman prophecy.
A self-fulfilling prophecy, maybe?
The Mothman diaries.
The Mothman events.
Yeah.
No, you just call it, I would say the event, but I feel like that's a
Just
movie
call
already.
it Better Mothman.
Better Mothman?
Yeah.
Better
And then
Mothman.
and then the slogan is Mothman story solved.
The case closed.
Yeah. This is how it happened for real.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody. And thanks for jumping into this giant journey of Mothman over 3 parts. It was super fun. Again, a big thank you to Deanna, one of our researchers. She kicked ass and really went crazy with the moth. She fell in love with it, and it was just fun to watch her go nuts.
And maybe if you're not busy on October 30th, maybe you can
save
the date.
Yeah,
I
especially
still
if you're
don't understand who Indrid Cold is.
He's
maybe an alien,
He's a
Jesse.
weird, shiny man with some weird insights that you might want to look more into. And he may be related to the cryptid known as the Mothman, who may or may not be responsible for some natural disasters around the world, including a bridge disaster in the 60s and even 9/11, Jesse.
Even 9/11.
He might be involved.
There's actually, because we didn't, I should have went down deeper this hole, but he told Indrid Cold told a prophecy of a 9/11 actually happening, supposedly.
That's the things. That's why I've heard. Like, that's why he has so much like pull in the circles, is that he like is connected to everything. It's dumb, but this is what we got. This is our folklore, guys. This is the modern American folklore. You gotta take it or leave it.
October 30th, Boston area. Keep it free. Also, for all those who are asking, the hats are back on sale.
That's right,
Go
bitch.
pre-order them.
I wear
Go
that
get
hat all
them.
the time. It looks good on
We
your
ran
body.
out of the other hats, which is why we needed more hats.
Oh,
so
shit.
Keep buying our hats.
Yeah, that hat is tight. It looks really good on me. Looks really good on me.
It's great. It looks really good on all of us.
Look,
all
yeah,
of you.
everybody
Even
out there, you should buy this hat. It looks great on you.
Exactly. You'd all look really cute. Jesse, Alex, thanks for joining me.
Hell yeah.
Throw us 5-star reviews wherever you are.
Oh my God.
And
yeah.
we'll see you next time.
Bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.